Honourable members, question number 516 has been asked by the Honourable S.N. Swart, also to the Minister of Finance.
The government has noted the outcome of the 2021 Financial Action Task Force mutual evaluation, with the presidency and cabinet prioritizing the need to take remedial steps to address the deficiencies identified in our anti-money laundering and terror financing framework. These steps would allow South Africa to avoid being placed on a FATF grey list, and more importantly, improve South Africa's capacity to deal with the financial crimes and corruption. Government has already introduced 2 bills in the National Assembly in July and August 2022 to address deficiencies in our legal framework, to address technical compliance, the deficiencies relating to the adequacy of laws and frameworks in relation to the 20 FATF recommendations that require updating and strengthening. The 2 bills are the General Laws in brackets Anti-Money Laundering and Combating Terrorism Financing Amendment Bill, and the Protection of Constitutional Democracy Against Terrorist and Related Activities Amendment Bill. Both bills are currently being processed in Parliament, and if enacted into law before the end of this year, will represent a substantial and critical step towards preventing greylisting. However, we have to do more than enacting these 2 bills into law. Also demonstrate greater effectiveness by achieving the outcomes expected of well-performing anti-money laundering and terror financing system, and hence our ability to deal with financial crimes. This aspect is measured in terms of 11 effective immediate outcomes related to implementation of the laws and frameworks. The Minister of Finance is leading the process to prevent greylisting, supported by the cabinet established in Interdepartmental Committee on Anti-Money Laundering and the Combating of Financing of Terrorism, which is chaired by the Director General of National Treasury and includes many government departments and agencies responsible for implementing the legal framework and improving the effectiveness. The FATF deadline for determining whether South Africa will be greylisted is February 2023 and not October 2022. South Africa is expected to submit a report to FATF on steps taken soon after the end of October 2022 in early November, after which further engagement will take place with FATF structures right up to the February 2023 FATF plenary. While it will be a tough challenge to prevent greylisting, it is my view that we can make significant progress by February 2023 to do so. Should we not succeed in fending off a greylisting, we can still minimize the remedial actions that will be needed to be addressed through FATF action plan by implementing all the above steps before February 2023, so that we can exit any greylisting as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Swart.
No, thank you, House Chair. House Chair, just please indicate if there's a difficulty with the sound from our perspective. The ACDP, like many others, is extremely concerned that the country is on the verge of being greylisted by the Financial Action Task Force, the Global Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Watchdog. Greylisting must be avoided at all costs, as it would raise the country's risk profile to unacceptable levels and place a question mark over the financial regulatory bodies, as well as attaching a higher risk premium to corresponding relationships between South African banks and the international financial institutions. Now, as you indicated, Honourable Minister, we appreciate that a number of new amendment bills are being considered by Parliament, and that it is hopeful that these issues will be dealt with by February 2023. But these bills, Honourable Minister, only address 14 of the 20 areas identified as weaknesses in the mutual evaluation report. Would the Honourable Minister give an indication of what the impact would be should the country be greylisted, what the impact will be on our financial services and our already reeling economy? And secondly, The more challenging aspect relates not only to the technical bills, but the implementation and the question whether policing, prosecution, and asset forfeiture units are up to the task of prosecuting as required by the FATF. Would the Minister indicate whether this aspect is also being looked into? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
I think there are two related questions. The first one, what is the likely impact? Earlier on, I indicated how the South African economy is integrated into the global economy. Clearly, if we're grey-listed, it's likely to have a huge impact, particularly on our financial sector. That's why we ourselves are spending sleepless nights to deal with this question. The sooner Parliament, even if publishing it for public comment, the bill, going to be quite an important aspect for us because we're able to indicate to FATF that some action is going, Parliament is taking action. So that's one set of issues. The second set of issues is the institutional part and the ability to move on this issue. I've made reference in the statement that we've got an interdependent technical team led at a high level of government by the DGs, led by the DG of National Treasury. That team is looking at the implementation of this area to the extent that our security cluster need resources to be able to deal with this is a matter we need to attend to. So it's a matter which we're attending with urgency, capacitating these institutions, including putting together an up-to-date forensic division and so on. We're working, taking some steps to deal with this issue at an institutional level. And I'm quite confident that that team is going to produce a good results.